NFL announcers hint at trouble in Dallas as they claim Cowboys star CeeDee Lamb was shouting at quarterback Dak Prescott, but what was the wide receiver really saying? CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott appeared to have a tense moment on Sunday. View comments. Sunday Night Football broadcasters Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico suggested there was trouble brewing between two Cowboys stars during their win over the Steelers, but many fans have a different theory of what happened. Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott was intercepted towards the end of the second quarter on a pass intended for wideout CeeDee Lamb, and the two appeared to have a tense moment on the sideline after. "Hard to explain, just throwing into coverage and something's wrong," Collinsworth said. CeeDee Lamb at the end of that. "I'll let you read your own lips." At Dak. "Dak doesn't react at all. Doesn't look good." "Not a bit," Turco added. "Not a bit." Some fans online theorized that Lamb had chastised Prescott for making a subpar throw. The sideline moment came after Prescott's interception from the Pittsburgh 15-yard line, and the quarterback did not look up at the wide receiver as he spoke at him. However, there seemed to be more of a majority on X that Lamb was actually encouraging his quarterback. "Jump ball, no, 4, jump ball, I got you," many believed Lamb said. That would certainly make sense as Prescott and Lamb appeared to be on different pages during the second quarter interception in which the receiver was deeper in the end zone but Prescott threw a comeback route short of him. It was one of two picks that Prescott threw in the game. Other fans criticized Collinsworth for stirring the pot, with one writing, "Yeah, Collinsworth said that because he had no idea what CeeDee said and neither do any of us." Regardless, Prescott would dust himself off to eventually lead the Cowboys to a 20-17 win with just 20 seconds remaining. Prescott hit receiver Jalen Tolbert for a 4-yard touchdown on 4th and goal to silence the Pittsburgh crowd and bring Dallas to a 3-2 record. Prescott threw for 352 yards and 2 scores, while Lamb had a somewhat quiet night by his lofty standards, hauling in 5 catches for 62 yards. Dallas will host the Lions this weekend in a big-time NFC clash. There is no better team in the NFL at winning ugly games than the Steelers, but on a Sunday night in Pittsburgh the Cowboys walked into a knife fight and beat the Steelers at their own game. Much like Carrie Underwood, Cowboys and Steelers fans were waiting all day for Sunday night, and then they had to wait even longer. With lightning striking in the area nearby Acrisure Stadium, the game's kickoff was delayed and fans were encouraged to shelter. Not long afterwards, rain began to pour down in sheets. The Cowboys and Steelers will have to wait. By the time the lightning cleared and the rain subsided, the game kicked off right around 9:45 p.m. in Pittsburgh, almost 90 minutes later than initially planned. And by the time the final whistle blew, and the Cowboys officially won this game, the East Coast was already an hour into Monday. This game had all the makings of a classic Steelers game, for those familiar with how Pittsburgh tends to play. The Cowboys started with the ball and moved down the field fairly fast, but the drive stalled out and they settled for a Brandon Aubrey field goal. Pittsburgh responded with a field goal drive of their own, after which both teams traded punts. Following that sequence, the Cowboys' offense started to pick up steam. CeeDee Lamb had 2 big catches for a total of 46 yards, and it looked as if a go-ahead score was inevitable. Then, TJ Watt did TJ Watt things, notching a strip sack on Dak Prescott that Pittsburgh recovered. The Steelers didn't score off the turnover, nor did they score again in the first half. Dallas notched another field goal, going up 6-3 and cementing this game as the slugfest some expected it to be. Towards the end of the first half, though, the Cowboys' offense was working their 2-minute offense and managed to reach the red zone with a chance for points. Prescott looked Lamb's way towards the corner of the end zone, but the ball was picked off. It looked to be a miscommunication of some sort between the two, and Lamb had a terse exchange with Prescott on the sidelines that preceded just 4 targets for number 88 in the entire second half. Ultimately, the Cowboys took a 6-3 lead into halftime. On one hand, it felt like a much bigger lead for the Cowboys, as their offense had been marching all over the field while their defense was giving up next to nothing. However, two terrible self-inflicted wounds from Prescott kept the Steelers in the game, which is where Mike Tomlin's team thrives. Sure enough, the Steelers opened up the third quarter with a touchdown drive, becoming the first team to reach the end zone in this game and going up 10-6. The Cowboys responded with yet another promising drive fizzling out, but this time Aubrey had his field goal attempt blocked. After a Pittsburgh punt, Prescott led the Cowboys down the field again and found Rico Dowdle for a touchdown to retake the lead. One more punt from the Steelers gave Dallas a perfect opportunity to lock things up. Sensing the urgency to score a touchdown and clinch the game, Prescott took a deep shot downfield that was picked off, once again keeping the Steelers firmly in this one. And, in classic Steelers fashion, they marched down the field and scored a touchdown on a 12-play drive that left the Cowboys trailing by 4 with just under 5 minutes left. That's when things got interesting. In a drive that featured plenty of hard running from Dowdle, who had a career night, the Cowboys worked their way down the field slowly but surely. There was a clutch catch-and-run from Jake Ferguson to convert a big third down, followed by a perfectly timed screen pass to Hunter Luepke to put the Cowboys in a goal-to-go situation. Then, Prescott ran to the 1-yard line, setting up an easy touchdown to get the win. In theory, at least. Rather than calling a quarterback sneak or utilizing the more physical presence of Luepke or even Ezekiel Elliott, Dallas ran with Dowdle. The running back leapt forward and reached the ball out, but it was jarred loose. Prescott, working to redeem himself for his 3 egregious turnovers in this game, dove for the ball and recovered possession for his team. Now facing 3rd and goal from 4 yards out, Prescott fired incomplete in the end zone to Jalen Tolbert, who got banged up on the play. The Cowboys had to use their final timeout just to be able to check on Tolbert prior to their 4th and goal, game-deciding play. Tolbert remained on the field, and Prescott drifted back and away from the Steelers' pass rushers as he watched his receiver work his way open across the field. And then, at just the right moment, he struck. It was a gutsy performance all the way around for this Cowboys squad. Tolbert led the team with 7 catches for 87 yards, and the fact that he made the game-winning grab right after getting hurt speaks to the resilience of this team. Prescott powered through his litany of uncharacteristic mistakes in this one to save the game. Dowdle totaled 87 rushing yards on 20 carries. And the defense, down several starters coming into this one and losing Marshawn Kneeland in the first quarter, managed to keep things close despite all the missing personnel. It was not a pretty game, nor a performance that will bolster fan sentiment in the Cowboys' ability to compete for a Super Bowl. But this was exactly the kind of game they needed. The Steelers don't make things easy on opponents, and they thrive on making the extra play when they need it most. They've been doing it that way for years, and they'd become experts at it under Tomlin. For one night, though, one night that stretched into morning on a rain-soaked field with a long list of missing players, the Cowboys were that team. They made the extra play when they needed it most. And they won a knockdown-dragout fight against the masters of knockdown-dragouts. That has to count for something. NBC broadcast cameras caught Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver George Pickens taking his frustrations out on a Dallas Cowboys player after the game ended early Monday morning at Acrisure Stadium. The Steelers dropped their 2nd consecutive game in a 20-17 loss to the Cowboys. It was a long night for both teams, as a weather delay kept the opening kickoff from starting until 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time. Pickens wore eye black for the game with a risque message for starting quarterback Justin Fields and offensive coordinator Arthur Smith that the former Georgia standout is always open. Pickens played limited snaps against the Cowboys. Per John Legend with Pro Football Focus, the number 52 pick in the 2022 draft played in 34 of the Steelers' 58 offensive snaps, the 3rd most of any Pittsburgh wide receiver. Van Jefferson, 47, and Calvin Austin, 44, saw significantly more playing time. Following the game, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin said the team limited Pickens' use against the Cowboys because of rep management for the big picture in Pittsburgh. Pickens wasn't less of a focal point in terms of our intentions of what we wanted to do offensively, but we did want to cut his reps a little bit in order to get higher quality play, Tomlin said. The final result on offense wasn't great against the Cowboys. The team scored 17 points at home. Pickens was annoyed after the final play of the game when Dallas cornerback Jordan Lewis appeared to taunt the third-year receiver after the play. Pickens grabbed Lewis' face mask with enough strength that the veteran defensive back fell to the grass. Officials saw the infraction by Pickens and immediately intervened to break up any potential fight. Pickens could be subject to a fine from the league for unsportsmanlike conduct for the action. It's unclear what Lewis said to Pickens before the receiver grabbed his face mask. But there were a few reasons Pickens might have been emotional after the game. The limited snaps curbed Pickens' targets. The 23-year-old pass catcher caught just 3 passes on 7 targets for 26 yards against the Cowboys. Pickens is off to a slow start this season. Entering Sunday night's game, Pickens had 20 receptions for 284 yards and no touchdowns. In training camp, Pickens was assumed to be the Steelers' #1 receiver after the team traded Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers in the offseason. Pickens will have ample opportunity to score his first touchdown of the season when the Steelers travel to play the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 6.